There are places in China where life seems completely cut off from the modern world. A village resting beside terraced fields, where traditional dances still come alive during festive seasons. A narrow path, winding past wooden rooftops, hidden amidst the golden hues of autumn. A valley illuminating the dark as rows of ancient streets light up all at once. These are remote, silent lands that are rarely ever seen. Today's journey will take us deep into China's hidden villages. The farther we go, the more these places feel like a world that should exist only in old stories. Dushan ancient village, Zhejiang. Hidden deep within the Suichang Mountains, Dushan ancient village looks like a piece of China that simply opted out of the modern world. With Tianma Mountain blocking the front and the Wuxi River flowing just outside, the landscape creates an almost perfectly enclosed natural space. It is exactly this terrain that has helped the village preserve an appearance that has lasted for over 800 years. Stone-paved roads curve between white walls and black tiled roofs, connecting ancient homes that have been safeguarded for generations. Faded carvings still bear the heavy mark of time. Life pushes forward in these courtyards and narrow alleys, sometimes accompanied by the echoing string music of the locals. Without the rush of heavy traffic, the scenery remains a long stretch of ancient houses resting at the foot of the mountain. Hemu Village, Xinjiang. Hemu sits deep in the Altai region of Xinjiang, where winter turns the entire valley into a blank white canvas set against birch forests and distant mountain slopes. Wooden cabins, fences, and narrow roads practically vanish after massive snowstorms. Kitchen smoke drifts up through the valley, while horses and sleds carve long trails into the village roads. Winters in Altai can drag on for up to 7 months, dumping an average of about 5 feet of snow. To fight off the bitter cold, traditional houses are built from thick wooden logs, while moss is stuffed into the cracks to keep the freezing winds out Hemu is also home to the Tuva community, who have lived here for generations. Traditional wooden skis wrapped in horse skin are their standard gear for navigating this snow-covered terrain. The fur allows the skis to glide fast downhill while providing enough friction to climb right back up the mountain slopes. Fujian Tulo, Fujian. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2008, these ancient earthen structures in Fujian are scattered across rice paddies, tea hills, and mountain valleys. On the outside, they feature towering earthen walls, tiny windows, and only a single entrance point. A single massive complex once housed hundreds of people from the exact same clan. Step through the gate, and the entire atmosphere changes. Tiers of wooden balconies wrap around a massive communal courtyard. Kitchens, living quarters, and ancestral shrines share this space. Water wells are located right inside the complex itself. Today, these courtyards still see plenty of daily foot traffic. A number of families have opened up eateries, homestays, and sell tea or local goods to tourists. Harbor Village, Xinjiang. If peace had a physical form, Harbor in the fall would be it. This village sits right on the border between China and Kazakhstan. Wooden cabins nestle themselves within a blazing yellow forest. Glacial meltwater from the Altai pours into the Harbor River system, and its smaller branches cutting through the valley, feeding the forests and meadows around the village. For generations, herding has been an undeniable part of life out here. Herders ride on horseback trailing their livestock, letting them graze along the hillsides and waterways flowing from the Altai. In Bai Harbor, peace is not just in the scenery, but in the way people continue to live alongside the mountains and forests just as they did centuries ago. Zhaoxingdong Village, Guizhou. Deep in the mountains of Guizhou, hundreds of grey rooftops pack tightly together at the bottom of a valley to form Zhaoqing, one of the largest Dong communities in China. The most striking feature is the 5 drum towers standing tall among the residential areas. In the past, the sound of the drum was used as a warning alarm when the village was in danger. Today, the courtyard at the base of the tower is a spot where locals play chess, chat, and host festivals. Indigo dyeing has long been a deep-rooted tradition for Dong women. The fabric goes through multiple rounds of soaking, dyeing, and drying to achieve that signature deep blue color right before being embroidered and crafted into traditional garments. During major festivals, massive crowds of tourists flock here to watch the parades, Lusheng performances, and other traditional activities of the Dong community. Yandunjiao Village, Shandong. In Yandunjiao, what covers the roofs is not tile or straw, but thick layers of seaweed pulled straight from the ocean. Located on the Jiaodong Peninsula, this coastal village has long used dried seaweed, stacked in thick layers to create its iconic rooftops. This setup is fire-resistant, deters termites, and can easily last over 50 years, with some roofs holding up for nearly a century. It sits wrapped around a small crescent-shaped bay. In the winter, hundreds of swans migrate here, swimming quietly across the waters. Wangxian Valley, Jiangxi. Clinging to cliffs over 360 feet high in Wangxian Valley, rows of wooden houses are built in tiers along the mountain slope, making most of the structures look like they are hanging right off the rock face. This valley was actually once a granite mining zone, where mountain slopes were dug out and the waterways took a heavy hit from industrial activity. After a massive ecological restoration effort, the heavily mined areas were transformed into waterfalls, dense forests, and buildings tracing the edge of the canyon. Houses, bridges, and water channels are all laid out following the principles of Taoist Feng Shui, making the mountains and the water the two dominant forces of the entire landscape. Once night falls, a completely different shape takes over. A sprawling lighting system traces the roofs, bridges, and cliffs, highlighting every single tier of the structures along the mountainside. Hongkun Ancient Village, Anhui. There is a village in China that has survived for over 900 years, yet the way its people interact with their water source remains almost completely unchanged. That is Hongkun, sitting right at the foot of the Huangshan Mountains in Anhui Province. Centuries ago, the entire village was designed in the shape of an ox, featuring a network of narrow canals feeding water straight through the residential areas. The water flows right past the front door of every home, playing a vital role in washing clothes, rinsing vegetables, and handling everyday chores. Inner courtyards still serve as the main spots for families to cook, rest, and gather around after a long day of work. Eventually, all the water routes empty into the Moon Pond, a crescent-shaped lake in the center of the village, where the daily rhythm of Hongkun has circled for hundreds of years. Jagana Village, Gansu. Jagana in Gansu has been called the last Eden on Earth, and looking at how this village is locked away inside Rocky Mountains, it is not hard to see why. Tibetans call this place Jagana, which means stone box, because the entire valley is basically sealed shut by massive vertical cliff walls. Every single day, life unfolds across the different elevations of the valley. Locals head down to the lower fields to farm, drive their livestock up the mountain slopes to graze, and venture into the forests to forage for seasonal goods. Barley, vegetables, milk, and meat once helped many families maintain a nearly self-sufficient lifestyle out here in this isolated mountain territory. High above, the Lasang Monastery still holds a critical place in the spiritual life of the community. Nanshun Ancient Town, Zhejiang. This is one of the most untouched and peaceful water towns among the 6 famous ancient towns of the Yangtze River Delta. The architecture here shows a crystal-clear collision of Eastern and Western influences. The town stands out with a quiet, solemn beauty, offering a highly unique blend of traditional Chinese architecture and early modern Western style. The picturesque canals still carry the heavy imprint of a 1,000-year-old silk trade. These waterways do not just serve commerce, they have bled into the fabric of everyday life. In the morning, locals open up their waterside homes, prep their shops, and kick off a brand new day right by the canal. Down along the stone steps, washing clothes, rinsing vegetables, and prepping meals happen exactly as they have for countless years. Small boats squeeze through the canals, ferrying people and cargo from one neighborhood to the next. And occasionally, you will spot brightly decorated boats slowly carrying a bride and groom across these ancient waterways. Jeju Tibetan village, Sichuan. The Jeju Tibetan village in Danba is one of the most striking examples of human adaptation to a mountainous terrain. Over 100 houses are scattered across steep slopes at nearly 6,500 feet, rather than being crammed together on flat ground like your typical village. Each home is a bizarre mix between an ancient defensive watchtower and a living space, wrapped in stark blocks of white, red, and black that pop against the green valley. The Jurong Tibetan people still walk around in their signature multicolored embroidered outfits, especially during festival seasons. Danba culture also holds on to traces of an ancient matriarchal tradition, where women command a very special position in society. That is probably why this region has long been known as the Beauty Valley. To this day, Danba still hosts beauty pageants for Jurong girls as a staple of their local cultural life. Furong ancient town Hunan. Imagine standing right in the middle of an ancient town, hanging off a cliff, where a massive waterfall violently roars right between the rooftops. This is Furong town, where the Tujia people use the sheer vertical drops to construct sprawling rows of wooden Diaojiaolu stilt houses. Come nighttime, the houses light up, and the sound of chatter and daily life stretches endlessly along these wooden structures. This place used to be called Wangchun, serving as a massive hub for the Tujia people during the Ming and Qing dynasties. Following the massive success of the movie Furong Town, that cinematic title eventually became the permanent name of the entire town. Azeki Ancient Village, Yunnan. Azeki village is one of the most intact and flawless surviving examples of traditional Hani settlement systems. The village is locked right in the core zone of the terraced field heritage site in Yuanyang County, Yunnan. Life out here is permanently bound to the rice terraces. Every day, locals navigate the steep inclines to tend to the rice, root the water, and grind out the work in the fields below the village. Their signature mushroom houses are perfectly organized around this exact rhythm of life. Livestock is kept on the bottom floor. The family lives on the middle level, and grain and seeds are stashed up top, where the rising kitchen smoke keeps them dry season after season. Water from the upper forest is channeled down for daily use and irrigation before continuing its run right through the terraces. Because of this, the forest is heavily guarded by the Hani people as an absolutely vital organ of the village. Chopping down trees is strictly banned, because the second that upper water source vanishes, the entire way of life down below goes with it. Longji Rice Terraces, Guangxi. The Longji Rice Terraces scale the mountain slopes of Longsheng, Guangxi, and the name itself tells you everything you need to know. Longji literally translates to dragon's backbone, because thousands of terraced fields fan out gradually along the severe grade of the mountain. This village has been the long-standing home of the Red Yao community. Red Yao women traditionally grow out their hair as a core element of their identity. By the stream at the foot of the mountain, you can watch incredibly long hair cascading freely into the water. Hand-embroidered outfits continue to show up in daily routines and major community events. Dayan Ancient Town, Yunnan. Sitting at nearly 7,870 feet up in the mountains of Yunnan, right under the shadow of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, Dayan Ancient Town has been standing for over 800 years since the Song and Yuan dynasties. Mountain water is funneled through tiny canals crisscrossing the entire residential area, a feature that has long been dialed into the daily life of the locals. Craftsmen fire up their work in small, tight workshops every single morning. Down the ancient streets, wood carving, silversmithing, and various handmade crafts are still fiercely kept alive. Tea houses are usually packed with tourists and locals alike by the time the afternoon rolls around. Eateries, taverns, and live music spots start swelling with crowds into the night, turning a centuries-old town into a place that rarely ever sleeps. Huanggang Village, Guizhou. If you had to use one word to describe the feeling of stepping into Huanggang, it would be an unbelievable silence. The terraced fields surrounding the village are still farmed to the exact rhythm of the seasons. The vast majority of the day for the people here burns away through working the fields and tending to livestock. Out on the stone paths, locals travel back and forth between home and the fields, carrying farming tools or whatever they just harvested from the dirt. The sound of water in the stream blends into the noise of ducks in the fields and conversations echoing out from the wooden houses. Life in Huanggang pushes on every single day. It just moves so incredibly slowly that it feels completely divorced from the rush of the outside world. Baoshan Stone Village, Yunnan. Baoshan Stone Village is built almost entirely on top of one massive boulder, and the lives of its people have adapted directly to that exact terrain. For generations, families have lived almost entirely off the grid, farming on the terraced fields and raising livestock right around the village. Water is piped down from the mountains to supply both households and crops, allowing a hard day's work to press forward in the middle of this totally isolated landscape. When they head home, locals cook on stone stoves, using tables, chairs, and beds carved directly out of the very rock sitting beneath them. In Baoshan, living in harmony with nature is not some distant philosophical idea. It is simply the way everyday life has functioned out here for countless generations. Tuiwa Village, Tibet. Tuiwa is one of the highest villages in the world, positioned at an altitude of roughly 16,400 feet up on the Tibetan Plateau. Up at this elevation, oxygen levels are only about half of what you get at sea level, meaning even the most basic daily chores drain significantly more energy. Summers are brutally short, so locals have to scramble to tend to their herds, hoard food, and stockpile fuel before the freezing weather rips back through. Raising yaks and sheep remains the absolute center of their survival. Herders drive their livestock out to the pastures, harvesting milk, meat, and wool to survive in conditions completely shut off from the rest of the world. Shanzhou Sunken Village, Henan. Unlike almost every other village in China, the people of Shanzhou, Henan decided to build their entire lives underground. They dug massive square courtyards deep into the loess soil, then carved out living quarters into all four walls to survive here across multiple generations. Below the surface, the central courtyard becomes the main stage for the whole family to eat, talk, and grind through their daily chores. The thick layer of earth acts as natural insulation, keeping the interior cooler in the brutal summer heat and locking in warmth when the freezing winter hits. Locals even have a saying to describe this place. You see the trees, but not the village. You enter the village, but see no houses. You step to the door, but see no doors. You hear the voices, but see no people. This extreme construction technique was actually recognized by China as a national intangible cultural heritage back in 2011. Shaanxi, Yunnan. The sharp clacking of horse hooves against the polished green stone slabs feels like the true heartbeat of this Bai village. In Shaanxi, morning still drifts slowly past old wooden houses, open fields, herds of horses, and locals taking their time walking through Xideng Square. This place used to be a heavy trading post on the ancient Tea-Horse Road, and its historic market is widely considered the absolute last surviving market on that legendary caravan route. It is exactly this raw, rustic vibe and a pace of life totally removed from the city that turned Shaxi into a major filming location for the hit show Meet Yourself. Chengkan ancient village, Anhui. Pass through Chengkan and you will face no hurdles in life. That old proverb has long been tied to this ancient village, hidden away in the Huangshan mountains of Anhui. Chengkan boasts a history stretching back over 1,800 years, kicking off way back in the Eastern Han Dynasty. What makes this place radically different is that the entire village was mapped out, following the Bagua and 9 palaces principles of feng shui. Water snakes its way through every neighborhood and narrow alley, acting as an everyday fixture in the lives of the people. Residents still live inside authentic Huizhou-style homes, preserving a rhythm of life locked into family, clans, and the ancient customs of the village. Whenever festival season hits, the village completely comes alive. Locals hang up lanterns, parade around with giant fish lanterns, and band together to keep ancient traditional rituals breathing across generations. Shizhou Village, Yunnan. Caught right between the Kangshan Mountains and Erhai Lake, Shizhou is one of those incredibly rare ancient towns in Yunnan where Bai culture is still actively thriving among vast open fields. Over 100 historic compounds are still perfectly preserved, showing off stark white walls, grey tiled roofs, and traditional inner courtyards that have stood strong for generations. Come fall, the rice paddies wrapping the village turn a blazing yellow, making the ancient roofs look like they are sinking into an ocean of gold. Every morning, the local market wakes up with fresh produce, raw ingredients, and piping hot Shizhou Baba flatbreads. Inside the courtyards, the Bai people still keep their traditional fabric dyeing techniques alive, hammering out stark white patterns against a deep indigo background. Right in the middle of a rapidly modernizing China, Shizhou manages to hold on to the feeling of a totally separate world operating on its own clock. Laigu Village, Tibet. Hidden deep beneath the snow-capped mountains of eastern Tibet, Laigu Village sits right at the foot of a massive system of 6 massive glaciers. These very glaciers once helped completely seal the village off from the rest of the world. Ancient layers of ice crushed under extreme pressure for thousands of years have given massive sections of the glaciers a deep sapphire blue tint. Yet somehow, life pushes forward right below those towering blocks of ice. Locals still cultivate high-altitude barley on narrow strips of land and herd their livestock through the surrounding valleys. Traditional stone houses are built entirely to withstand the violent freezing winds ripping down from the mountains. In the winter, ice caves actually form along the glacier, creating deep blue chambers that look like they were carved out of frozen light. Out here, the glaciers are not just scenery, they are a vital piece of the environment that has shaped exactly how generations of humans managed to survive. Shibadong Village, Hunan. Shibadong Village is the exact spot where Chinese President Xi Jinping first rolled out the concept of targeted poverty alleviation. This concept essentially transformed a remote mountain village into the ultimate textbook case in China's poverty reduction story. Buried deep within the Wuling Mountains of western Hunan, this Miao community used to be totally blocked off from the outside world by severe slopes and nightmare roads. The name Shibadong translates to 18 caves, a title pulled straight from the massive karst cave network buried in the mountains surrounding the village. The dark-tiled wooden houses of the Miao people still cling tightly to the steep terrain, connected by narrow stone walkways that often fade away into the heavy morning fog. Traditional embroidery, ancient folk songs, and community festivals remain deeply woven into daily life, creating a rhythm that completely clashes with the modern megacities of China. Even though better roads, a spike in tourism, and new tech have drastically changed the lives of the locals, the architecture and the raw Miao identity have somehow stood their ground. Dulongjiang, Yunnan. If your mental image of China is just packed megacities and wildly overplayed tourist traps, Dulongjiang is about to completely shatter that illusion. Pressed right against the border with Myanmar, This valley is trapped between violent mountain ranges towering over 13,120 feet. Up until 1999, this place literally had no real roads connecting it to the outside world, and every single winter, heavy snow would quarantine the entire region for months on end. It was not until 2014 that a 4.15-mile-long tunnel finally put an end to that brutal lockdown. But right on the other side of that tunnel is an entirely different world, featuring the turquoise Dulong River, heavily forested mountain slopes, and Durung villages scattered wildly across the valley. Life here is still completely anchored to cardamom farming, beekeeping, and weaving aggressively bright, colorful blankets. Ganjia Secret Realm, Gansu. Buried deep on the Gannon Plateau in Gansu, the Ganjia Secret Realm is almost totally severed from the outside world. It sprawls out across endless grasslands, stark white cliffs, and tiny, isolated Tibetan communities. Dead in the center sits Bajiao Cheng, an incredibly rare, ancient eight-cornered walled city. Over 1.2 miles of massive earthen walls still wrap around the residential area, trapped inside. But make no mistake, this is not some forgotten ruin. Real people still live, raise livestock, and grind out their daily lives right inside those ancient walls. Outside the fortress, yaks and sheep wander aimlessly across the green plains. Narrow streams cut through the steppe right at the foot of the Baishia cliffs. Inside the nearby caves, Denisovan traces prove that early humans were actually roaming this exact territory around 160,000 years ago. Caught between monasteries, rocky peaks, and rising kitchen smoke, Ganjia somehow maintains an impossibly slow pace of life. Guoliang Village, Henan. If you had to drop one word to describe the feeling of setting foot here, it would be overwhelming. Tucked deep into the Taihang Mountains, Guoliang sits completely trapped between vertical cliffs, a place that was once entirely cut off from the rest of the planet. Before 1972, anyone wanting to get down the mountain had to risk their life navigating terrifying stone steps bolted onto a sheer vertical drop. Goods had to be hauled up entirely by human strength, and the severely sick could burn hours just trying to reach the flatlands down below. Refusing to live in isolation any longer, 13 villagers literally carved their way through the solid mountain using nothing but hammers and steel chisels. Nearly 5 grueling years later, a tunnel stretching over 0.75 miles was finally busted wide open. Walk through that pitch-black tunnel, and Guoliang suddenly appears with its stone houses, tight alleys, and battered steps, all floating between mountain fog and massive red cliffs. Today, people are still living on the exact same mountain slope that kept this village locked in total isolation for generations. Wuyuan ancient villages, Jiangxi. Hiding away in the northeastern mountains of Jiangxi, the ancient villages of Wuyuan are scattered across terraced fields, deep valleys, and mist-covered slopes. Classic Huizhou houses with white walls and black roofs chained together along the steep terrain, carving out a world that feels miles away from the urban grind. But what makes this place truly special is not just its ancient aesthetic. Over in Huangling, flat land is so incredibly rare that locals are forced to use their roofs and wooden drying racks to sun-dry chili peppers, corn, rice, and a massive variety of post-harvest crops. Over the course of many generations, this brutally practical survival tactic accidentally turned the entire village into a living painting. Every autumn, the rooftops are completely smothered in intense reds, yellows, and oranges, making the grueling daily chores of the locals look like a scene ripped straight out of a fairy tale. Shiban Village, Hunan. At first glance, this place looks exactly like the crumbling ruins of an abandoned fortress. But just behind those heavy stone walls, life is still grinding forward every single day. Down in Shiban, the narrow roads, the stairs, the walls, and even the roofs are entirely pieced together using green stone slabs, ripped right from the local area. The houses cling desperately to the mountainside, linked up by wildly twisting pathways that make the entire village look like a stronghold forgotten by time. Shiban was actually once a highly active piece of the ancient defense system in the Miao frontier. But what makes it truly special is that this place never devolved into a wasteland. Real people still live inside these stone walls, still walk up the same battered steps, and completely maintain the pulse of life inside a massive structure that has stood tall for generations. Huanggang Village, Guizhou. The second you step into Huanggang, the stilted wooden houses instantly grab your attention. They stack together in heavy layers right at the foot of the mountain. Jutting out from between the old tiled roofs are 5 towering drum structures. This is still the prime spot where the Dong people meet up and keep their community heartbeat alive. Staring up at the overlapping tiled roofs aggressively reaching toward the blue sky, you can practically feel the sheer pride locked inside their traditional woodworking skills. These massive structures are pieced together entirely out of wood, without the use of a single iron nail. The extreme isolation of Huanggang does not come from terrain so dangerous that humans cannot physically reach it. What makes this place feel completely ripped away from the outside world lies strictly in how the community fiercely guards their daily rhythm, their culture, and their very own isolated universe. After a journey like this, your view of China has probably shifted dramatically, showing it is not just a land of colossal megacities, but a country of hidden villages, where time itself seems to grind to a halt. Trapped between towering mountains, deep valleys, and entirely forgotten roads, humans are still fiercely protecting a way of life that has thrived across countless generations. If you had to pick one of these places to survive in for a few days, which village would you choose? Drop your answer down in the comments below. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button to keep exploring the most unbelievable places left on Earth. Thanks for riding along with us, and we will see you on the very next journey.